Hey, welcome to Dow Stock Talk, where I talk about topics relating to investing and finance, but more specifically the stock market. Now in this video I'll be going over what is the S&P, and it's the S&P for you. But before we get started, make sure you smash the like button because it helps the YouTube algorithm. It helps you know that you follow content and help my videos reach a broader audience. So what is the S&P? So the S&P 500 is an index that tracks the 500 largest US companies. So a lot of times people refer to the S&P 500 to get an indication of the overall performance of the market. So a lot of times when people say the market's up, the market's down, or they're trying to beat the market, they're referring to this particular index. And remember, this index tracks the 500 largest US companies. So a lot of people end up using this S&P 500 index as a benchmark to compare their portfolio to. So if they're doing better than the S&P, they consider that a good job, and if they're not, then that's not so good. So here's the thing, you can't invest in the S&P 500, but what you can do is invest in an S&P 500 index fund or ETF, which mirrors the performance of the S&P. So one of the popular ones is by Vanguard, VOO, VOO, and also by SPY, SPY. Now, also it's good to mention that the S&P 500, even though there's 500 companies, the companies with the largest market cap or net worth are weighed more heavily. So if you can think about it, if you can think about like the top 5 or 6 companies, I'm not sure, don't quote me on that, it's weighted about 20%. So that's a lot of times you can see, as long as those big companies are doing well, the S&P 500 will end up doing well. Because the other companies, even though it's 500, but especially the ones low on the list, they're not as weighted as heavily. Because a lot of times you got to think about it, the overall market is kind of dominated by the major companies or the major plays. So also the good thing about the S&P 500, as companies fall off, new companies arise, they end up automatically getting replaced. So just because a company was really popular and really thriving in the past, if they fall off and new companies become better, then the new company is added. So that's why I think the S&P 500, in my opinion, a lot of times when people ask me, hey, what should I invest in? And I was like, hey, if you don't want to do any research, and you don't want to you can just passively invest, you can passively invest in this particular index, a S&P 500 index fund, and you can't go wrong. Because that particular way, you don't have to worry about the price, because sometimes you buy high, sometimes you buy low, and historically the stock market has always ended up going up. So the good thing about it, since 1926 up to date, the S&P 500, you have an annual return of 10%. And with inflation, it's roughly adjusted for inflation, it's about 7 or 8%. So not saying that every year you'll get 10%, just you take the average. So sometimes you might be up 20, other times you might be down 5, and then you might be up 20. But anyway, the average will give you 10% return. And even the famous Warren Buffett suggests that he feels that the average American should just invest in a low-cost S&P 500, especially if they don't want to do a lot of research regarding individual stocks.
Most sense practically all of the time. And that is to consistently buy an S&P 500 low-cost index fund. Keep buying it through thick and thin, and especially through thin.
And as long as they invest in this consistently long-term, they cannot go wrong. Because like I said, historically, the S&P 500 has an annual return of 10%. As the new companies become better and old companies fall off, it ends up automatically being replaced. Since you have 500 companies, it's really diverse. So me personally, I am a big fan of the S&P 500. I invest in the S&P 500 as well as other ETFs and some individual stocks. And that concludes this video. But let me know in the comments below, do you invest in the S&P 500? And if you haven't already, hit the like button and make sure you subscribe to my channel. Also, if you would like to see any type of videos and any other topic, make sure you drop it in the comments below.